So our topic for today is product photography with smartphones, and we have with us Aniruddh Kothari. Hi, Aniruddh. He's the founder of Aniruddh Photo Company, and he studied at Hallmark Institute of Photography in Massachusetts, and then went on to do your masters, right, at University of Bath. So welcome, Aniruddh,
Thank
and
you.
please take us through the entire topic for today.
Right, so start things out. Talking about smart photography. A lot of us may think that's a little difficult. Uh, Reality, it's not too. This is not too much to ask for. No? Walk you guys the basics of photography. We walk you through the tutorial as to how you can do it like a whole live demonstration, basically. For me, so it just turns out to be a lot easier for all of us, right? So here's the thing: is that as a big photographer, as a business, as anyone small, anyone big in the photography field, the biggest source of light is the window. It's light. So you want to use natural light as much as you can. So in today's example, this is what we're going to show you, that how using anything, a big window in your office, or maybe even a garden, like these three places are pretty much sorted to shoot what you want. And it's a lot easier to shoot products and etc. if you know exactly what you want to do. Nowadays there are trends on e-commerce, especially. Everyone wants to shoot things on a white background. Then there are a lot of trends on Instagram where people want to do things on like flat lays, which is just placing a product, nice textured background and picture from the top. A lot nicer. Everyone does it, and there's no reason why you shouldn't do it as well as a business. So, so here's what I'm going to do is one, we're going to show you a nice demonstration how to get along with shooting with the window light, and show you what exactly works well and what does not. So more or less, will help you out the imagery requirements or when you're putting out a catalog or when you're doing anything. So a couple basics on this, on the whole photography front, is that um, I've already spoken to you about light. I'm going to talk to you about is how we underestimate what your smartphone can do. Things like what a lot of us don't do while shooting is just like tap on the screen. You can set the focus. You can say you want to focus on something and you don't want to something. At the same time, what you can also do is if if it's me tapping on a certain object in my picture, I can say I want this part in focus and not be in focus. Appealing. At the same time, whenever you tap, what happens is you're not just setting the focus, but what you're also doing is that you have the right, the ability to set the exposure of the picture. Say pictures and you realize they're too dark. So if they're too dark, what you could do is you could just like tap on it and just raise the bar up, which is brief shot. Raise the bar up, and that actually shows it how you can change the exposure and fiddle around with that. So you can make a darker picture, better picture. Last, what you need in terms of gear. So I think in terms of gear, it's a very easy setup. Here's what we did is that we got a couple of these sheets, like a black sheet, a white sheet, so of cardboard. And at the same time, what we also used were white, yeah, so white chart paper, but that's like a different 5 chart paper by 10 chart paper, a couple different ones. The reason it some light to shoot, I'll tell you how is that. For example, we have a source of light, okay, coming from one end, which is the right hand side of the object. The left hand side of the object where there's the shadow. So if there is the shadow, what you want to you don't want the shadows. You want some light over there. You want to show what you can just like a white background over here like this and just bounce the light back in. Things like these They help you go along with tricks and just bounce the light back in. So that just works a lot easier and better. Exactly. Like in the tutorial, we have like two ways in the video you'll see is that you can see one with the fill card. Yeah, let's just call this fill card. It's a lot easier for us to talk about it then. So we use the fill card, and because the fill card, see the difference with and without it. Whether there is, but like how much of a difference does it make, and does it go a long way or not? So I think there's this is pretty much the basics of photography. And for everyone's ease and convenience, we are covering we're covering the shoot on an iPhone and on an Android device and on an Android device. It's a lot easier for us to understand for everyone to just juggle. Next thing I'm going to talk about is indoors. Is that what are you going to shoot indoors like? So indoors, we're going to talk about products, how we can place them in terms of composition, in terms of picture, how well we can go around with things. At the same time, because a lot of us are using e-commerce, I mean that's we want to get things out there as much as possible. We can use the same pictures of e-commerce on our own websites as well. So we're going to talk about how we can shoot with e-commerce and a white background. Now, keep in mind that all of these things are like itty bitty things that could make you get pictures of an optimum level. Like you can work things out. I'm not saying they're the best quality of imagery, but you can work things out. If you're ever in a tough spot, this is what you could do. There's no need that there could be not. I mean, you may not need to hire someone for for a project like this if you do not have the budget, and that's perfectly fine. So these are basically as simple as something called DIY hacks, life hacks, whatever you want to call it, for you to go ahead and just shoot it, like in your office, in your studio, etc. And last, I'm just going to show you a nice live demo with a white fill and a black fill and what it actually does. It's a very simple thing. You could just use the same, what do you say, the same the philosophy, I guess, or the same analogy. Yeah, the same analogy, that's the word. Yeah, philosophy is too philosophy, to be honest. But the same analogy that what you can do is in summers we choose not to wear dark clothes because we suck in more light, we suck in more heat, and in winters we choose not to wear lighter clothes because we get more cold, and that's the whole point. So this is what we do is that the moment you use the black card around the picture, you're sucking light away. You're giving your product black edges. But the moment you use a white card, you're bouncing more light in. You're reflecting. You're making sure that there's more white coming into the picture. So that's what these two do: a white card and a black card. So depending on what you want to do, you could use either or. Okay, so
That's a great example.
That's pretty much. I mean, in terms of what your white and black fill cards have to do, and all of these the solutions that we're giving you to shoot, it's a lot easier. These are available in the local stationery. You just go down, and in terms of Instagram, also we have what a lot of us do are flat lays, where we have our products placed like on a flat surface, and we just take a picture from the top. So something like that is a lot better if you have a textured background. So you could use like wooden planks, you could use textured chart paper, anything that works, and all of these are available again in the local market. So all you have to do is probably go to your nearest railway station. I'm pretty sure you'll find all of it. Like it's not rocket science. I'm pretty sure it's all there. So I guess that's pretty much it about me talking and explaining you things visually with my hands. And I think we should just walk you through what the whole practicality of this setup looks like, and we can take things forward from there. If there are any questions, feel free to hit us below in the comment section, and I can address that, and we can just like hit pause and just talk about it. What's going on? Right? So let's get the video up. So we can just pause, right? Like when we have to. Okay, perfect. So here's indoor photography. So I think for the first one, what he did was we got an iPhone together, and and we got some jewelry. Just like simple jewelry that a lot of new small businesses are manufacturing at the moment. So here's what we do is that we have jewelry, and at the moment you can see is that we have a nice wooden background. Okay, that just works a lot easy. This is the flat lay background I was telling you, by the way. This is something you could totally get made from your local carpenter. But here's the setup: is that we have some jewelry, we have a small tripod, and we have a phone mount. I'm going to put the phone on the tripod itself, so it's a lot easier to control and make sure the phone's in the same spot throughout. Now, because we decided that we want to look at e-commerce first, so what we did is we just plugged in like a nice white background, like a white chart paper, and put some jewelry onto it. And as you can see, the right side of the frame is where we have a huge window which just works well, and that's the natural light. That's all that we're using. So it's just a lot more convenient and easy. So here's what it is that we have jewelry around. We have some necklaces, bracelets, earrings, and a nice fancy pearl necklace that I'll show you later what we can do better with that. So looking at e-commerce, here's what you need for e-commerce is that everyone's requirements are that, hey, the e-commerce pictures need to be on a white background, right? So if you have e-commerce pictures on a white background, this is what you're looking at. So you want to make sure your background is as plain as possible. It's okay. Okay. So what we have is like basically a white background, and and your attempt is to actually get your white background as white as possible, so you don't have to worry if you don't have to rely on post processing. So I'm going to get to the shooting part, about the part where I spoke about focus and how we can set the exposure of the picture, and that's what's happened here. Is that you could literally see uh, that when we tap on the necklace on the screen, there's a yellow box, and you see like a sun next to it. Okay, and you see how the focus switches. And now, as soon as I take the sun higher or lower, my exposure changes, which is basically helping you decide is that do you want a brighter picture or do you want a darker picture, and that is completely on personal taste. I mean, um, your phone says what exposure should be like, but it also helps you control your exposure whether you want it brighter or darker. And this happens in like both. You can use this on on the iPhone also and on the Android as well. On the iPhone, there's a little different setup. It doesn't look the same, but I'll show you a quick demo on that as well. So, here's what we are talking is that we have a necklace over here, and we have a source of light on the right, and the left side is what is dark, and we do not have a source of light. So um, what we can do is we can actually add like a fill card, which is the white card, to just bounce some light back onto it. And here's what you do is that we have a white card which is pretty big for the necklace. I mean, for smaller objects, you should just use like smaller fill cards. It's a lot easier to move things around, and like to make sure that it's a lot easier to actually control the light. So here's like a big fill. So as you watch slowly, is that now on the left side of the necklace you see like there's light, and as soon as I move the fill card out, there's barely any light. I mean, it just moves. Small things like these matter only because you want to make sure you get the picture right in camera. So it just works out a lot easier, and you don't have to rely on editing and post processing. So this is what we do is that we try to get it as right as in camera, so we don't have to waste much time, and you know what it looks like. So here's a simple picture of us basically um, telling the camera that what we want to make it loud, we want to make it brighter, we don't want it darker. So this is a brighter picture, and what we could do is in this example, in this setup, my frame does not necessarily like it does not cover the whole thing. I mean, we have a little extra background on the back which you do not need at all. So what you could do is in post just take the crop bar down and just crop the picture, which is like a square crop, etc., to give more emphasis to your product. And it just looks. I mean, that's what the product looks like. And this is just a very basic thing about cropping. But as you see, there are these other features light, color, etc., which you can use to enhance the product. So you could use to like get more color on it. Um, you could choose to get a product more saturated.
So, Anirudh, for you, I have a question on that. That how does brightness and all of this play a role? Like in terms of editing your picture,
Hmm.
uh, till what extent can you go in terms of post processing?
In post processing, okay. So the thing is that when you're shooting anything like, if you're shooting anything on this setup, it's not too much that is going on. So in post processing also, you would not have to do a lot of work. Like it's pretty easy, pretty manageable. I wouldn't say anything that anything on the lines of, hey, you need an expert retoucher or anything like this. But here's something that I would definitely try to pull out is that worst case scenario is that if you're shooting anything for e-commerce like this, if this is the exact picture that I have to work to, in case if your e-commerce websites like Snapdeal, Flipkart, Amazon do not accept these images because the background isn't white enough, what you can do is that you can just get your files to a retoucher, and what they will do is they will just clip out the product. They literally trace the product out and place it on a white background.
Okay.
Right. Now here's the thing is that you may have to pay for a retoucher. You may have to like get in. This is an expense you may have to incur, but that expense is a lot minimal as compared to hiring a photographer to do it.
Absolutely.
So it cuts. So as a small business, as an entrepreneur, it cuts down your major costing, which is great. Not that I'm saying that, hey, you know what, definitely don't hire a photographer, which actually kills my job. But but the whole point is that if you're in a crunch, you're in a tough spot, this is what you can do. Is that this is something that you could work on it, like work with it. It's a small setup, you could do it. And the thing about e-commerce is that you want to shoot as many products as possible in one sitting, so it's worth your time.
Right.
I mean, that's what you want to get with it, is that you want to make sure.
But then in terms of the product itself, where do you draw the line on say filters, or because the filters are the rage these days?
Mhm.
So where do you draw the line
Oh.
on that?
So here's the thing, that depends where you're using it, right? So if I'm using it on any e-commerce, filters is a no-no.
Okay.
They don't accept it. They don't work that way. If I'm using filters for things like Instagram or Facebook, do not overdo it.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say. Is that I as a photographer, because I'm a lot technical, I look at more on the lines of getting basic things going all right. So I'm not using filters. So I try to get everything under my control because I'm a control freak. But I would say it's not oversell it. Do not go over what it is. Make sure your product looks like what it is, like only piece. I'm not
Alright.
saying make it look like something else altogether.
Absolutely. Makes sense.
Yeah. So getting back to the products again. So what we shot earlier was a necklace. And what we're shooting now is, I think, a pair of earrings. So the thing is that what we have here is a lot of small objects and big objects. So we have the liberty to like play with things. And what we're going to do now is just show you what the necklace looks like when you shoot it with an Android phone. And remember what I told you guys about the exposure and how you can just tap and set things in focus. So this is what the Android one looks like. It's basically a small circle, and you can see the sun. How you can just move it around. So you take it higher, it makes it brighter. You take it lower, it makes it darker. That's again on personal choice. That's how you want things to be over there. So again, it's a lot convenient. A lot of us do not use this feature, but setting exposure, right? So you could do this even on a vacation, like anywhere. What means that this is a very valuable feature, and you should use it more or less, no matter what, to make sure to make your image darker or lighter. That's completely your call. So here's
But you would recommend not to overexpose your pictures as well?
yeah, I would recommend not overexposing your pictures definitely, because when you overexpose your picture, you're also uh, overexposing your product,
Right.
which kind of so for example, if your product color is red, it may look like a
Orange.
very lighter red
Right.
or orange.
Right.
There's too much light in it, which is not what the product looks like.
Right.
You want to put out what a product looks like. You don't want to deceive people. I mean, you get what you see.
Right.
You want to keep it as simple as that. So, so that is the one with the Android, and now that is on a white background. Now we're just going to talk about how you could change things and have like a nicer background. So what we have here is a nice textured red background that we use, and what we have is a pearl necklace, which is a lot nicer on this than on a white background. When a pearl necklace on a white background, there's no contrast. So here's the thing is that when you're using anything for social media, for Facebook, for Instagram, for anything like the Instagram style catalog, what you really want to do is that basically develop get some contrast in your pictures, so it draws the attention of the user. If it's white on white, this may not be ideal, or this I may not even want to look at. Or if I'm just scrolling on my feed, I may not want to stop at it.
It'll get diluted, basically.
Exactly. It will just merge with the background. It's pointless.
Right.
But when I have something like a nice contrasty background, my product stands out. So I really want to see that. Right? That's the point. Is that people are on Instagram for hours just scrolling. You want to make them stop at a point. So here's what the thing is that using the black, now here's a small example of using a black fill and a white fill. So the black fill helps suck in the light. So what you see on the left side of the necklace, you'll see like I mean, when you take a picture, when you zoom in, what you see is black edges, which is refined, which is sharper edges for the product. Okay, and that is a lot nicer in a lot of cases. So for cases where a product is a white product or it's transparent, you won't have anything white on the side to give it defined edges.
Right.
So you can see, okay, there's an end to the product. There's a nice edge. This is a nice sheen, nice glow to it.
So I guess here we can see that product placement also makes a lot of difference about how whether you keep your product straight or the necklace was entangled, right? That makes a lot of difference as well.
Yeah, it does, it does. So here's the thing is that when you shoot,
Yeah.
when you shoot a lot of it, you may realize Instagram people have like they have a stylist. They have a good stylist on board to help them style their whole shoot, and is that a stylist's job is to make things look nice. So if you have the aesthetic for it, I would say style your products. Don't just leave it over there, move it around, keep it, play with things, play with props, play with other things that are relevant to your product. That's the whole point of it. That makes them look nicer.
Right.
So whatever you do, you keep things around, you use them in a way where you can incorporate certain other
Where
things
they
as
look
well.
aesthetically more pleasant.
Exactly, aesthetically more pleasant. That's the point of it. It's visual content. By the end of it, you want to make sure it looks pretty.
Right.
So what we have here is a set of cupcakes. Super many cupcakes actually. Super delicious also. But so what we're also doing here with cupcakes is that we have a source of light again on the right. We have these shadows coming on the left. Now, if you're the kind of if you find shadows cool, then let the shadows be there. But if you don't find shadows cool, you can always introduce like a white fill over there to try to cut down the shadows, to give it some extent, to give it like more light, so you can cut your product out later, or in post if you just bump up the shadows, you have you don't you can see texture and you can see a little color as well. It's not like a dark patch of shadows, right? So what you'll see is that with these cupcakes, we've played with perspective as well. So we've actually we were a little lower before. Now we've moved a little higher, and so it gives us an aerial perspective of the cupcakes. So you know what's on top of the cupcakes. Like a lot of these, they have this icing. They have like a nice chocolate piece, a chocolate slab. You want to see all of that. It's a cupcake. Uh, that's how cupcakes are. They're pretty. If they're pretty, you want to look at it more. And here's what we're trying to market is that what is on top of them, how pretty they look. So one way of doing it is that showing it from the top, giving it an aerial perspective, which just makes it nicer, which makes it easier for the viewer to understand what my cupcakes looks like. So we set up a different perspective. We have a couple different photos, and this is something that you could definitely use for Instagram. Is that so? We have this nice wooden plank right by the window. We put a cupcakes over there, put in a nice pattern, and we have shadows which kind of look cool. So that's one reason why we've gone ahead with it. And this is a picture you could totally find on an Instagram feed.
Absolutely. So if you don't have backdrops, you could totally make use of your own
Yes.
windowsill or any wooden plank, your wooden table.
Yeah, like wooden table. Like this is a seating place in a cabin.
Right.
So I mean, this can work like anything. Anything that has interesting textures can always work. So it just works a lot nicer. I mean, you don't have to look too much.
Just look around in your house. I
Yeah,
guess.
just look around. It's that simple. So here's the other thing is that we're shooting homemade candle stands. Is that what you call
Yep,
it?
and
Yeah,
home
right?
decor.
Yeah, home decor basically. So these are nice home decor items where you can just plug in like just put in a candle inside and leave these hanging and dangling on a balcony or on the bedside table. And what we have here is for a background is a very cream and a yellow textured paper that we used a lot for like packaging back in the day. You find a lot of diaries and notebooks packed like this.
Handmade papers.
Exactly, handmade papers. Yeah. There you go. So that's the thing. Things like handmade papers, we don't realize how cool they would be for a
For
product
background.
shoot like that, and you could definitely use it. Sorry. So, here's the thing is that we have a lot of shadow over here because the sun's kicking straight in, and that's the reason we have shadows. And another reason is um, the previous photos we did not have any shadows because we didn't have any sunlight over there. So depending on where you are, where you're shooting, you could just take things forward from there.
That's a very interesting play of shadows.
Exactly. So like over here, the reason like the shadows work really well over here is because the entire candle stand it's a hollow structure,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see if there's light going through on the other side, you can see how your shadows falling and the kind of shapes it creates,
Right.
and that's interesting. As a person, as if I'm looking at a candle thing, I'm like it really shows me what the texture looks like on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'd love to be like, hey, like what does the product look like? If I'm a third person just viewing it. So here's the thing is that we could also shoot like individuals. Now we've just gotten rid of the tripod. It's just a lot convenient. It's easier to play with the angle. So I would not recommend you're like having a tripod around every time. But if I'm going to be shooting this exact same bottle and a couple of the things in the same spot, then yeah, have a tripod, have a phone on it. So all you have to do is your product's here, you take a picture, leave the product out, get another one in, get another product in, take a picture, get rid of it. So it fastens the process.
Right.
But if you want to experiment something like Instagram or you want to put things out on the social media, this is the kind of things you could do. So you can play with angles, you can move things around, move your camera around, and you can avoid using the tripod. So like for me, this is a great Instagram picture. Like you could totally put this out. There you go. There's your like I think almost a 4x5 crop. Um, just put it out there. It's that easy, and you have Instagram feed with a nice
Absolutely.
hashtag.
Like even with the shadows and everything, I think it looks very professional. Something that could go out on Instagram, as you mentioned, or even on Pinterest for that matter.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you would have more light, we'd definitely put in some more light on top. So what we're doing right now is just trying to crop it so it does not look a little shabby. But yeah, I mean, these are simple things that you could use. Like that's the patch you really want to avoid. You don't want to show much of the patch. So I think that's pretty much it for what we have on our
Indoor photography.
forefront on indoor photography, shooting products, cupcakes, necklaces, all of it together. It just works out a lot easier.
Yeah.
So do we move on to outdoor?
Yep.
Is it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So for outdoor photography, what we did is we just took like some apparel and we tried a couple different things like I want to say
Western outfits.
yeah, like we have Western outfits, we have like a formal outfit, and we have Indian
Yeah.
Indian traditional. Yes. So the other thing is that we went to the closest park that we had, and what we got exactly with us was we got a couple of models to dress up in three different outfits, and what we did was we just went out looking for sun. As I mentioned, that's the greatest source of light, and that's something you should always use. And use the sun; it's great. So over here, what we had the sun coming through a set of leaves.
Mhm.
like the tree. So just created interesting patterns on the garment itself. So here's the thing is that now yours was recommended with apparel is that you should always get a model on board.
Okay.
Only because a model always knows how to get the product going, how to get the cloth, how to get your apparel look nice.
Mhm.
That's the reason you want a model.
Now, say for example, if as a small business entrepreneur, someone does not have the budget to hire a model, then what
Mhm.
can they do?
Um, if you do not have the budget to hire a model, um, now, here's the thing is that we often underestimate. We think models are just to have, just to put the apparel on them and take pictures
Mhm.
because they look pretty and that would sell a brand. But that's not the harsh reality actually. Uh, that's not what is actually going on. The reason, as a photographer, I'm always looking for models is because they know what to do with the apparel. But when you're a when you're a small shop that you just started off apparel, you may be on the lines of, hey, I do not have a pretty face to use my product with. So what you could do is you could definitely you could crop pictures. You could give it a very artsy vibe by just getting a crop like somewhere here,
Yeah.
or just like somewhere here, like just like lip below or something like this. So it looks a lot nicer. So it's not about the person; it's more about the apparel.
Right.
So it also because a lot of us when we're starting off, we probably ask our friends for a favor to model for us, and that's great. And they may not want their face to be used, or they may be shy, camera shy. So that's what you can do is that you can totally get like a crop until their nose or something like that, which just works and it looks nice. Surprisingly, it's a lot artsy and it looks nicer. But this is what you can do is that you can always get a pattern. Uh, get a couple of friends, get someone
So yeah, I
who's
guess what we could do is that for small business entrepreneurs, we can always ask our friends around, ask somebody who we can ask for a favor. Because a lot of brands these days also do that, as you mentioned rightly, that you take pictures of the apparel, maybe not, well, not the entire face of the model, if your friend does not want to, like,
mm,
volunteer for that. But I guess apparels that are worn look so much more nicer than just having it spread on a table, because that is what something that you would do for product photography, like we did of the necklaces or the
true,
earrings.
true.
So that works for that kind of products. But I guess for apparels, worn looks much more appealing than opposed to leaving them flat on a surface.
Yeah, because I mean, like I remember, like I am still very dicey about like shopping for clothes online, only
Hmm.
because I don't know what it looks like or how it falls when I wear it.
Right.
Like I don't know what the t-shirt look is. Is it too tight for me? Would it like how like is this the fitting? Does the fitting look nice or not? It's always nice for me. It always gives me like a little confidence factor if someone's wearing it. I know okay what it looks like on a person. And if the model is a super thin, malnourished guy like me, then I'll just look. I'm like, yeah, I know what it looks like on me. Then I mean, that's how I'm gonna be like, yeah, it's fine. Like I would totally like go with it. So here's what we have is that we went to the nearest park that we had, and we got a model here to pose with the sun, which is the best source of light for all of us. And she was pretty well versed in my opinion in terms of how to carry the garment and how to like move things around. So here we have her like trying a couple different poses. So we have um, pictures of her full length, pictures of just like the torso, the upper half of the body. So just so depending on the kind of pictures I'm looking for my website or for e-commerce. Now here's the thing is that the reason we're trying to so when you're shooting, you could see the how we're setting the exposure. So we're taking it down so the sun does not look too harsh on the clothes, on the dress she's wearing. So we have that, which is a lot nicer. But the moment, in case if my exposure was a lot brighter, it would be a little terrible because it would be too bright, and which would kind of defeat the purpose of the apparel looking pretty. Like something like this looks nicer because the apparel is lit, it's well lit, it's not too much, there's not too much distracting options going around, and it's great because my model's in the sun, so I'm not too worried. I mean, it's totally fine for me. Now, another thing you could do is that if you do not want to show faces or you want to go for the artsy vibe I was telling you about, you could totally have the model just look away from, like not looking at the camera, just look away. So it just looks, it's actually a very fine art vibe, and that's something you should definitely consider. So here you go. That those are like full body shots, and this is like somewhere getting close. So you see the nice texture it's creating. The leaves at the back. So that's something. So it shows you what the garment looks like in highlights and shadows. Like you know what looks like a little wrinkled and all that. And this is exactly when we lost the sun. The sun just went behind a bunch of clouds. So what we have is natural light, and you see the difference is that now you can actually see everything. You can see the banyan tree in the back, which is not what we want to. It's more with the garment. So the pictures before work a lot nicer than the situation we are in right now. Is- when the sun's falling on the garment, that's what you want to show. You want to show the dress. Now what we have is a formal outfit here with the second model, and what we got her to do is just stand, and it looks like something straight out of a catalog. Like you could totally um, show like this kind of like the clothes that she's wearing, the way she's posing is just a lot nicer, and the sun's falling on her, so it's great. The location may not be the best, but we try to make the best out of this location by using benches in the background and going on the lines of leading lines.
So you don't necessarily have to like rent a photo studio or something. Just work around what you have
Yeah.
next to you.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
That's pretty much what we're trying to explain in this tutorial as well, in this workshop, that photography may not necessarily be about fancy locations or destinations just to build your catalog. Like this is right next to us. We've been passing through this garden for a long time. We never noticed it. But just when the requirement came up, we were like, okay, this is perfect. The banyan tree works perfectly. The sunlight, the lighting works perfectly.
exactly. And that's the thing is that I mean, I'm pretty sure like everyone who's watching this, we have like a lot of parks around, and obviously every park looks different, and you'd be surprised to see the kind of things you could pull off in a park that's been super close to you for years. You never looked at it that way. So here's another tip: is that you never shoot against the light. You always shoot like in the direction of the light. So it's just a lot better. So something like this. Now what you could also see here is there's a little shadow at the bottom, but you could totally crop that off and make it a nice torso shot. I mean, this just looks pretty. Like just her as a person, I could really like use this picture, and yeah, there's the crop. See, so we can just crop in. Actually, if we crop in on the sides, we get rid of the desk as well. It just looks a lot nicer than in terms of, hey, this is what the garment looks like. It's a sheer office top, orange in color, and with a bag with sunglasses. You could totally picture yourself in a formal office attire.
And I can see that cropping the picture also makes so much of a difference, that with all the trees and everything, but once you crop it, it's good to go in any catalog.
Yeah, yeah, indeed, indeed. And cropping also plays a big role in photography. You'd be surprised to see the differences. Like something like this, her being a little off center, it's a lot nicer than her being in the center. So here's the last one that we have is of our third modern and traditional outfit. And what we did is the reason we have the benches together is because you want to create like a sort of trajectory, like leading line. So that's we have her sitting in the foreground, and you have a bunch of benches in the background, and a nice old man just sitting over there.
I also like the fact that although we're in a park with everything is green, but the model is sitting on white. So basically, it shows a contrast as well.
Exactly. You want to make sure your model, you want to make sure your prop, your like name it, whatever you're shooting, pops out of the background. If it merges with the background, what's the point?
Imagine if the lady who's wearing green was in a green background with the flower, with the trees or grasses.
We're back to shady photography then. I mean that's what it is. Remember the old photo studios? Like I mean they're still around and they have these very weird backdrops. Like that's what we're looking at essentially.
The landscapes and the
Exactly.
mountains.
Yeah, more or less. That's where we are at. So here's what we have is so our third model here. We had to sit down, and what you can see on the left is a white cardboard, which actually adds in a little fill. It adds in a little fill because we have the sun coming from the right hand side. So yeah, from camera right. Let's put it that way. So our left side of the face is well lit, but right side of the face is in a little shadow. So what we did is we just tried to have like a white cardboard that would actually bounce some light back onto. So it's the fill logic that we're using. We want to use the fill logic in our product on people everywhere. It's perfectly fine, and these are simple life hacks that you can use. If you want to make things brighter, get together a white cardboard. If you want to make things darker, get together a black thing. And we use this in shoots all the time, even in the studio. That if you want to add more light in, we just put in some more white. And you'll be surprised to know such small things make so much of a difference.
I can see the difference in that photo itself.
Yeah, I mean her cheeks, like there's a nice glow on the right side of her face.
There's more light there as
Exactly.
opposed to the one where there was no cardboard.
True. So I mean that's what your nice white DIY cardboard fill does to you. It just gives you a nice fill overall.
So where does the reflector come into place then? The ones that we use for photo shoots, like
So a reflector is a professional way. It's a much more professional and sophisticated version of the fill card we used.
Mhm.
Right. So reflector does the same thing, but the beauty of a reflector is that it pretty much puts it together. Is that you can mold the light the way you want. You can move things around. It's a lot more
Okay.
flexible. It's a little shiny as well, so it reflects more light out as compared to what anything with a white background would do, like a fill card would do.
All right. So we're done with the tutorial, and I guess we can open up to a Q&A session. Before we move on to the Q&A session, for our viewers out there, we just want to show that this is how we've seen clicking the picture in terms of the exposure, the focus, and everything works out. But we've done a catalog for you just to show. We've put up all the pictures that we shot for the tutorial just to show you what it'll look like. So here we can see the products that we shot. On the left hand side is the necklace, as we mentioned earlier, how keeping that necklace straight like any other and as opposed to keeping it entangled makes a lot of difference. Just the perspective of the necklace.
It just looks a lot nicer. I mean,
So I guess you would say that just play around with your product, understand your product, what works best
yeah,
for
exactly.
it, right?
And look at references. Look what other people have done. Look how other things have done, and how other what are the different ways they've placed the props, what they've used with it, and
Absolutely.
that's a great way to.
Considering there's a plethora of information available out there,
Oh,
whether it is Pinterest, Instagram, there are tutorials as well about if there's any specific product that you're looking for, you can look that up as to how your product will look nicer outdoor or indoor.
true.
Then the catalogs for home decor products that how, as Aniruddh mentioned, shadows plays a lot of role. And when do you think is the best time to do this? Like, what time did we do this photo shoot?
I want to say this was around 5 p.m.
Yeah, around
5 p.m.
5
Yeah,
p.m.
5 p.m. Yeah.
So the light was coming in from the right, and the product is in the center, and the reflection falls on the left. So I guess
Yeah.
could you replicate something like this in the morning as well?
Yeah, you definitely can.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
early morning.
Yeah, you can early morning. Just find a place where there's sun.
Hmm.
That's all. I mean, it's the biggest and the best source of light that you have. Than spending like lakhs of rupees on a strobe to use while shooting. The sun is the best source and it's free. So go out there, use it. You can make really cool things. Just get your lighting right.
And the final that we saw was apparels. So this is the outdoor photography. The rest of it we did indoors. This is outdoor with the models in Western and the business wear. All right, so this is what and just to tell you guys all that these products were all of them clicked on an iPhone and an Android. We use the Motorola, so they look as good as professional. You could absolutely use these. I really thank Aniruddh for walking us through all of this. I guess we have more questions. So to anyone, if you have more questions, please drop them in the comment section. Also, Aniruddh, we have one question from Deepika who says that which are the best free camera apps available, and if you can tell us how different are camera apps as opposed to your inbuilt camera on the phone.
Okay. So here's the thing. If you're looking for the best camera apps that are available in the market, I would recommend look at something. Look at Snapseed. Look at ViscoCam. Visco's VSCO. That's how it's spelled. Snapseed is great. It lets you control everything. But if you're looking for something on the lines of you want to use filters which are not too overboard, I would suggest use ViscoCam. They're nice filters. They're subtle. They're not like too punchy straight up there. It's great stuff. You could totally use it, and it's great for putting things out on social media like Instagram and Facebook. But in terms of camera apps, I would recommend Snapseed or ViscoCam. And your in-camera editing, which is the second part of this, is that I wouldn't use it so much because it's very very amateur. It's okay. Like you definitely want an app. You want to use something like Snapseed. Snapseed is, again is an app by Google. It's great. I use it all the time. I've seen it evolve over the years and have features that it didn't back in the day. So yeah, Snapseed and ViscoCam, those are my go-to apps. To
So how are they different from your in which but not just for editing purposes, but even just to click?
so even so okay no, you click with the normal camera.
Okay,
It's fine. Only when you're editing, you take it to Snapseed or
just a little
ViscoCam.
touch.
Yeah, the touch you do it over there. Snapseed gives you individual control of everything you want, and the user interface is a lot more friendlier in terms of what your in-phone editing app would do. I've used the iPhone one and the Android. It's complicated. Sorry, I wouldn't recommend it a tad bit.
Okay.
I'll just say use the Snapseed. You can literally see okay brightness, contrast, saturation, ambience. Or you could look at before afters like just with the tap. It's great.
That's excellent. So, Sagar has one question that which is the best, or which are we could say the best
Mhm.
smartphone, like camera smartphones out there? I mean, I'm sure iPhone 6, iPhone series is one of them.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of if you're asking me about the best smartphone, I would just say the iPhone 7 Plus,
Okay,
which is great, which gives great picture quality,
but comes
but
with
also
price.
comes at a big price.
Right.
This is a great price as well. It's a great price tag.
I guess you could buy a DSLR with that much.
Yeah, totally. Actually,
But
resale
you
would
can't
be a
make
lot
calls.
cheaper. It'd be like half of the price. But this thing is that actually I did come across one of the OnePlus
Mhm.
series, and I think they also boast of a pretty good camera. I've used it, and they shoot RAW, which is a file format,
Right.
which is RAW again is a much more detailed file format as compared to what a JPEG is.
Mhm.
So that's a lot nicer. So you can definitely use the OnePlus. I mean, they are really good cameras um, in terms of the output that you finally get. So
I guess you
yeah.
could say that we shot this entire tutorial on a MI as well. So I think MI could also
Yeah.
qualify.
Yeah, the only reason, I mean, it does qualify, but as a photographer, because I'm moving around all the time and I shoot travel and all of that. So, I the only problem with the Android phones that I've always had is that they have a lag when you shoot.
Right.
Is that you click and then after a split second the photo will be taken.
Correct.
On an iPhone, I would click, the photo will be there and there. But again, the whole tutorial we did today, because a shoot like this would be planned,
Mhm.
so the lag would not bother me.
Absolutely.
So the lag would be fine. I could totally use the lag.
But I guess if our users they can use a tripod or have like you even have a
Exactly.
steady hand. I think because MIs and videos have the biggest market out there. I think the picture quality for those are also pretty decent. You
Yeah,
can go with
exactly.
it.
That's what I'm saying. If I were to get rid of just that lag point, I would be like, yeah, the Android works as well. Like it's great.
Because
Like
we
those,
saw with the tutorial, we did both. We did iOS
exactly.
and Android.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like the MI and the Motorola, both of them work great. Like there are no
Absolutely.
complaints.
so, what is the biggest no-no in photography, especially in product photography? Would you say like putting the product and standing right in front of it with the light behind you?
Yeah, like things like this, like I mentioned this in the start. I mentioned it throughout. I'm mentioning it now. The sun is the greatest source of light for you.
Right.
Use it. Do not stand in front of it. Do not stand besides it. So like when we shot, we are like we got to a spot and we like this is where we are. This is where the window is. So we're gonna make this spot clear. We don't want anyone standing over here because sun's the best source of light you have, and it's just great. It just works a lot easier and a lot better.
I guess we have our answer
Yeah.
then.
So just make sure like whatever your product is in the same line as the sun or like somewhere around it. But
Just-
do not yeah
the
do not
sun
be
is
against
here,
it.
and the product is here. Then just don't stand in between.
Exactly. Or if you stand in between, like move things around, like try to make sure you're not in the picture. That's the point.
Okay. We have one question from Radhika who says that I have a footwear business. So what background setup can I do to make it more Instagram style product catalog?
So I spoke about flat lays in the beginning.
Mhm.
Now flat lays are basically Instagram photos. That's where everyone uses them. It's basically a nice background with products on it. So looking down at the product. So here's one more tell you, Radhika, is that just use go to your local carpenter, get simple wooden planks together, textured paper, textured canvas, textured backgrounds, anything like this. So you go to Chor Bazaar or anything like this, any of these, flea markets or these, look, you'd be surprised to see the kind of antiques you could come across and use as backgrounds.
Speaking of antiques, tell me, where do props play a role in these products? Like, I mean, I say for example, I have a nice home decor,
Hmm.
maybe candles. I want to shoot candles, but then how should I just keep candles on their own, or should I add something to the depth, to like something that's out of
Okay.
focus? How do props play a role?
So here's what you have to do is that if it's a picture for e-commerce, you cannot put props.
Okay,
It's only candles there and there. It's out.
in white background.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're shooting for your social media accounts or for your website. You want to style it. You want to put props.
right.
You may want to put like a couple of rose petals or anything that sets the mood. For example, like the only example I remember is this company called Yankee Candle in America. So they sell candles and they are big. They're big on candles, and the kind of pictures they use, they style it, they prop it. They have like they're romantic scented candles, so they use like rose petals, like a very cushiony background, velvet background, all of that to add to the feel. The whole
Right.
point of adding all of that is that you're portraying
Giving
your
that
brand
luxury.
with objects that you're using like props.
Right.
Like you want to convey that quality.
And you also want to convey the feeling, like
Yeah, you want to
you
tell
want
them
to set
what
the
you
mood.
are. Like the adjectives of what your brand or what your company is. You want to portray that with your props. So that's what you want to try and use.
Absolutely. So you could maybe even light some of the candles in the backdrop.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, it's a candle. You gotta light it.
You want to set the mood, like how you would in a house. Like you want to sell the luxury, if that is what your
Exactly.
product does.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
That's what how you need to. So it's your brand. By the end of the day, you're selling a brand.
Right.
So if you're selling a brand, you want to make sure everything that conveys your brand.
Mhm.
Like the color scheme, like things like these, itsy bitsy things like these could make a lot of difference.
Since you mentioned color schemes, how do color tones make a difference? Like when you're setting up, would you have all of the like not just the background? Like you mentioned, the background should be of a different color that it pops out, right?
Mm.
But the little elements, like say for example, if the home decor that we saw, it was blue. Now, would you add the other elements of the props as well blue, or would you do a contrast?
No, I would do a contrast.
Okay.
The only reason I would do a contrast is because I don't want things merging.
Mhm.
I want the viewer's attention to be on the product and
The
then the other
focal
things.
point.
Exactly. I want anyone to look at my picture be like, okay, yeah, he's selling candles. I want to look at the candle.
Right.
They don't want to look at
You're not selling the rose petals.
exactly
Right.
because no one's gonna pay so much. for those buttons.
Okay, so we have a very interesting question from Manoj, but I think we already answered that. That if I have a garment business and I don't have models, then what do we do?
Yeah,
Just ask around, ask your
yeah.
friends.
Ask around. Yeah, I mean,
Or I
yeah.
think could you suggest mannequins? Do you think that will look nicer?
Yeah, mannequins. Yeah, mannequins would be great. I think yeah because e-commerce websites allow mannequins as well, if I'm not wrong. But
It may not have the same feel, but you can
yeah,
definitely
it
go
may not
for
have the same feel, but hey, you know what? I don't think a mannequin's gonna complain about standing in the sun. So
it.
I think you're a lot more well and better off with a mannequin than getting someone. A mannequin also works out a lot easier because it's just there.
Right. I guess, but would you say that having one mannequin would give you more stability in terms of products? Like if you open, like even on Instagrams, I've seen some profiles where it's the same mannequin on different apparel. So otherwise, if your models keep changing, right? It depends.
True, true. I'll tell you what, another thing is that when you have a mannequin, you can shoot all the time.
Hmm.
You don't have to
You're not time restricted.
call up a friend and get a favor and
Right.
he says you have 1 hour and in 1 hour you need to knock off all the shots.
Right.
No, the mannequin is great. Like
It's always there.
it's always there, never gonna complain. No overheads.
Absolutely. We have one more question that says, like, what kind of different backgrounds can you use? Like, other than chart papers and your wooden stuff. Because, okay, the wooden planks are very much in trend. But
Uh,
other than that, what else can you use?
Anything that draws your attention, actually, like
Any flat surface?
any flat surface, anything like there was a time I was really all about textured walls.
Hmm.
That works as well. I mean anything that draws attention and you like, yeah, you know what, it makes a great interesting background, go ahead and use it. There's no like, I mean the possibilities are endless
Hmm.
in terms of backgrounds. The possibilities are endless.
But would you always suggest that they keep it simple, or because there are some photographs where the backdrop is so overdone that you lose focus from the product itself. So, but see,
So
it works it depends on what your media is. If you're doing
exactly.
it for Pinterest, maybe that works.
Yeah, but here's the thing is that whenever you're shooting anything like this, what you want to know more about is what is your vibe as a brand. What are your objectives? What are your what are the qualities as a brand you follow? Sorry. That's what it's all about. Is your brand a very clean, sophisticated, to the point brand? Then you don't want to make a clutter.
Right.
But if your brand, there's a lot going on, then you show the clutter. It's okay. It's supposed to happen. That's what a brand is.
Considering you mentioned about adding a pop of color,
Mm.
but there are some brands, or see, how do you create brand identity? Because see, a lot of the small business entrepreneurs also want to, see, let's say for example, Vodafone is doing a campaign and everything is red,
Mhm.
right? If so, basically, how do colors? If a small business entrepreneur wants to do something like that, because even food bloggers, say for example, do that. Even if the food may be red, but then the backgrounds are constantly the same, or basically not even if they're not same, but they're the similar color. Do you think adding things like these could make a difference to build brand recognition? Because there are, I came across an Instagram channel yesterday, and all their backgrounds were pastels, and they're known for having pastel backgrounds.
Yeah, it does. It does make a lot of difference. I think as at least in India, a lot of us as companies and brands do not pay attention to color and color theory. Color theory is great because it's all about reinforcement, right? Like the reason McDonald's is yellow in color is because it draws people's attention. Yeah, the reason the Simpsons are yellow is because when you're flipping through channels, it draws attention. Like yellow is the one color that stands out in the crowd, no matter what. So you want to use color theory. You want to remind people constantly. This is your brand. This is your color. Even if you're not saying it, like subconsciously.
Right.
That's the whole point of color.
But you don't want to go too crazy because you don't want to throw all the colors.
Exactly. You don't want to go too crazy. You want to keep it under the optimum level. That's what you're looking at.
All right. We had one question saying that how do you shoot apparel on an iPhone? So that I guess you could say the same thing.
Oh, the same thing. The same thing. The only reason we went with the Android was because when we were shooting, we just figured that this is a lot easier to just move around then. But the iPhone, I think, would be a little more easier than the Android, and because there's no shutter lag, that's my only.
Right.
bit.
But then the tutorials that you mentioned earlier, like how about focusing and everything, I think
Yeah.
it'll remain the same.
Yeah, it's all the same. It's all the same.
Yeah.
Nothing changes except the location. Nothing changes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's about it.
Now, I have one question that on the phone, Anirudh, you'll see HDR always there.
Yeah.
So, how is HDR photography on your phone itself different from a normal click on your phone?
Okay, so HDR basically stands for high dynamic range.
Okay.
Okay, it stands for high dynamic range, and the whole point of HDR is that it makes sure that you have your highlights also, and it makes sure you have your shadows also. So there are times if your highlights are overexposed, which is the brighter parts are like brighter, then my shadow will not look like a shadow. It will look like, because there's a lot of light in my shadow. So
Correct.
my shadow is not going to look like a shadow, and my highlights are not going to look like the highlight. So when I'm shooting HDR, what HDR does is it's merging both of them together. So
Okay.
there's more detail in the picture.
So, would you say that HDR pictures are more defined and better than the regular ones? Should you go for that option?
No.
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 Okay.
I would say HDR pictures are great when you're shooting landscapes. HDR pictures are great when you're traveling, yes. But when you're shooting people, when you're shooting products, I wouldn't recommend HDR.
Okay, this is a very interesting question. I guess a lot of, especially small business entrepreneurs, I also notice that people are also sometimes afraid of of technology, of the phone or of the laptop, what it can do, right? So playing around should definitely be one of the things that all of our viewers should do. That is like see, every phone works differently. So would you suggest that they first check out the features of your own phone? Like maybe if you don't have an iPhone or you don't have a Moto, like the ones that we demonstrated, but if you have something like an MI, then check out the features that your phone does. But the question that we have here from Isha is that would you keep your phone on manual setting or automatic? Because even phones that you like Samsung and all, they let you while you're clicking to change the settings.
So that's, I think, like even on the iPhone, I know it doesn't, but there's an app for it called Manual.
Okay.
Now this is for the people who are a little more advanced on this, who know who know what the shutter speed, the aperture, and the ISO is on a DSLR. So you can ask your you can do the same thing and you can control it on your phone cameras as well by just getting these free apps called manual or manual camera. Just look it up. I think on the Android there's something called MuseCam,
Right.
which allows you to control the shutter for however long you want. So it's basically giving you a manual control, and you can tell the camera this is what I want. This is for the advanced users though. However, for the ones who are just into photography, just got into it, I would recommend just go with the normal bit.
So are there any paid apps, like if any of our users want to go
Okay.
take it up a little higher?
I think there are paid apps. There are. I think the app
Even-
called Manual on the iPhone is a paid app.
Right.
It's like 240 or 300 rupees.
That's
Yeah.
that's affordable for
Yeah,
anyone as
for-
opposed to a 60,000 DSLR. I guess
Definitely.
a 500 rupee app is worth it. Sorry, Aniruddh, we won't put you out of business, I'm sure. But okay, one interesting question that we have. I think this is not emphasized enough. And what is the importance of flash and when to use it and when not to use it?
Here's the thing: is that I've never been a fan of the Flash.
Right.
The cartoon, yes, but what Flash does is it actually adds the extra light on the front. But when you're shooting products, anything what we're doing today, I would not recommend Flash because just use the sun. It's a lot nicer. Use Flash if you know how to control it well. Yes, that's when you use it. But do not use Flash if you're a beginner. It adds that extra thing and it looks a little unprofessional.
It looks a little, like, it adds a little white shine, if that's the right word.
Exactly, yeah, like a white glaze onto
Right.
whatever you're shooting, and that's not what you want.
Right.
So what do you want? You want your product to look nice. That's why I said just use the sun. Do not use the Flash.
So either the sun or play around with the exposure, but not flash.
Not Flash. I would recommend never the Flash. You can use the Flash if you have the knowledge for it. You know how to control it. You know how to get the power up and down. You know what would look fine, what wouldn't. Use the Flash then, yes, but not like this.
All right. I think we're pretty much done here. Any more questions? If anyone has them, please post them in the comments feed right now.
More the merrier. I'm assuming we've probably covered everything or more than.
Is that what you learned 1 year in photography? I'm sure much
Yeah.
more than that. I'm just kidding.
But no, smartphone photography is on the rise, and I think people should definitely not underestimate the power of what your phone camera can do.
Speaking of that, tell me if someone wants to buy a phone, someone is interested in going for something like that. How does megapixel on a phone as opposed to a camera play a difference?
Okay, so we've come a long way on smartphone photography on like cameras on phones.
Right.
I remember starting off with a 2 or a 3.2 megapixel camera on a Nokia 6600.
Right.
Right. Now that's when the difference would matter
Uh-huh.
because a 3 megapixel camera would pixel it.
Absolutely.
There'll be no pixel. The whole point of pixels is that the more the megapixel, the better it is. That's what they say. But here's the thing: anything over 15 or 12 megapixel is all the same.
Is it?
It's all the same unless you're going to print it on a big building or a big hoarding.
So they're selling lies to us.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. It's only when you get into it is when you realize that the megapixels not really matter. Anything over 10 is the same thing. It matters to me as an advertising photographer is that I know that's why when I'm shooting for my clients, I'll ask them, where do you plan to use the images? If you plan to use it on a big hoarding, then I will make sure I have a camera with a higher megapixel.
Right.
But if they're planning to use it on web, then I can totally use a normal camera and get away with it.
Correct. So I guess if someone is also looking to do smartphone photography, what we can tell them is that if you have anything above 8 megapixel will work.
Definitely.
Because
Yeah.
I guess majority of the phones these days come out with more than 8
More than
megapixel.
8. Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Anything 8 and over is fine. You're
Right.
fine. You're never going to print it.
All right. So that's pretty much the end of the session. I would like to thank Aniruddh Kothari for being with us here today and
welcome.
for
Thank
this
you.
amazing session. I hope you guys got to learn a lot and take back everything insightful in terms of your lighting, your placements, backdrops. If you have any more questions, please let us know. And thank you for watching. Thank you so much.
Thank you.